Trial. Trial.
Size bir user ID'ler veriyoruz. O
Trial.
şey yapın diye.
So, again, if you're not talking today, please mute yourself. There are quite a few people
Trial.
here. There are quite a few people here. It's going to be difficult if everybody keeps their microphone on to manage.
Hello, Tony, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Venkat. I'm calling in through my phone because my internet is off. But one thing I wanted to mention is in your email, in the second email, the meeting ID was different from the first email.
Venkat, that could be because there was a second email for another meeting next week.
Oh, okay, okay. So my bad. Okay, all right. Thanks, Tony.
So it's almost 3 minutes after 11. We can wait maybe another 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll get started. So let me get started as people are signing in. Hopefully we'll have our speakers ready to talk. So thank you all for making this possible. This is the first of its kind, I think, workshop that we are trying to organize for the college. We have been discussing, Tony and I have been discussing about this for a few weeks now, since the end of spring semester. And here it is. So thank you all the speakers who generously agreed to give time, and all of you who have signed up to listen to this distinguished panel of speakers. And we hope to be able to do more of this. In fact, we already have the next week's plan ready to go. And then we plan to do maybe another 2 or 3 before the semester starts, the fall semester. And depending on the feedback, your interest, we plan to actually do a lot more because there are a lot more different funding agencies and the faculty that could do this. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. We have a distinguished panel today. And I'm going to turn over in a few minutes to Stephen. He's going to serve as our moderator, but just wanted to let you all know, I'll be calling on many of you as we progress to do these workshops because I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. The next workshop is going to be next Monday. And then I believe we're going to do one following that. I'm going to moderate the next one over STEM education. And I think Khan is going to do one in the near future over NIH funding. And we'll probably come back and look at DOD. We're open to suggestions. And please let us know if we can answer any questions. We are going to be posting the workshop in its entirety on the college website, and we'll send out the link for that once that's set up. I would recommend setting up, turning on the chat client. So in case you have questions, you know, and you don't want to interrupt the speakers, but if you could mute yourself if you're not speaking. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Steve Landau, and I am one of 3 grant development specialists who work out of the Office of Research we have a lot of experience helping faculty improve their proposals, make them more competitive. We are more or less specialized by agencies. And just for example, I typically work on upwards of 20 NSF submissions per year. So I know what it takes to make an NSF proposal. Likewise, my colleagues are experts at the NIH and Department of Education, and I just want to make a plug that you should use us. If you want to make a good proposal, sign up at the Office of Research to get a grant development specialist to help you. And with that, I'm going to have our panel members introduce themselves. Hani?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm Hani Al Sayed Ali, and I'm a faculty here in electrical computer engineering. Basically, my experience with NSF is like almost all faculties. I simply submit proposals. I have served as a reviewer. I have not served in NSF in any kind of capacity as a program manager or anything like this. So my experience is limited to what basically faculty do. I also note that I am an experimentalist, so most of my proposals tend to be mainly experimental work, although I have also collaborated with some theoretician and modelers and so on.
Okay, we have Deepankar.
Hi, I'm Deepankar Ghosh. I'm an assistant professor in mechanical and aerospace engineering. I currently have a grant from NSF from CMMI. So my area is mostly experimental. I work with material science, and like the program I have grant, it was like used to be called materials engineering and processing, but they merged a lot of programs and made a bigger program, advanced manufacturing. And this grant is a collaborative one with UVA. I usually keep submitting, like I've submitted proposals with this program mainly. And I also serve as a panel reviewer few times with the program officer program director from whom I got the grant. Mm-hmm. And then also I've done several times ad hoc reviewer also. So I found those experiences pretty useful.
Thank you. And we have Michael or Honyi Wu.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Yeah, this is Michael Wu. I'm with the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. I also direct the ODU Center for Cybersecurity Education and Research. My background is mainly in computer systems, computer science, computer engineering. I have a few NSF grants which I can talk about later today. And also I served on the panel a few times. I'll share my experience today.
That's great. That's great experience. Well, I think the format here is that each of our panelists is going to give about 10 minutes.
Stephen, we added Sandeep Kumar. I believe he's on the line to this panel. I thought I sent out the
okay. Sorry, Sandeep.
No problem. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Sandeep Kumar. I'm a professor in civil and environmental engineering. My work also are more experimental works in the area of biofuels and bioproducts. Experience with the NSF, I had quite a bit experience. I had a NSF career grant, then technology translation grant from different division, and then educational research like RU and RET grants. So these 3 different types of proposal, I have been funded through them. I'm a frequent reviewer as a panel reviewer for NSF. I have done for SBIR programs. I have done for the normal research program. So I'm looking forward to share my experiences with the panel.
Great, great. Thanks a lot. Tony, I think I don't know the order of speakers. If you have that settled, you want to?
I believe you went in the correct order.
All right, then we'll start off with Honey.
So I'll try to share my screen here. Let me see. Do you see anything here?
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
I did send you my slides, by the way.
I have them.
If you want to put them, you can put them.
That requires technical competence, and I'll try and see what I can do.
Somehow I'm sharing it, but let me see.
Stephen, I have them. I can put them up.
Okay. Okay, Tony, could you put them up, please?
Sure.
No, that's not it.
I think I'm off the meeting. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And you see me? Yes, okay.
Yeah, okay, so you got my slides in?
Yes.
I see your
Okay.
slide.
Great.
Yeah.
Basically, I'll just take 10 minutes. If I'm more, please cut me off. I'll try to go quickly here. So I just put few comments on my own personal experience. And I mean, to be very clear for you, I have had my successes. I mean, for the past 20 years, I have had continuous NSF, mostly as a PI, a few times as a PI. But I have had a lot of, unsuccesses. I mean, sometimes I've had a proposal get turned down twice, and then I have had to go for the third time to get it accepted and so forth. I certainly wouldn't claim that I have had, stellar success in these proposals or so. But the other thing is my experience, it doesn't get easier with experience. I mean basically right now it's just as difficult as it was 20 years ago. So I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, I'm just letting you know my own personal experience with NSF. So when I start writing, I don't write too many proposals, by the way. I don't submit more than 2 to NSF per year. And I usually start at least 6 months before the deadline. One thing I find is, well, I usually I go with the Division of Material Research. That's where and it's pretty competitive. I mean, it's one of the worst divisions actually, because it feeds in from different disciplines. I mean, from sciences, engineering, so chemistry, physics, and engineering. Sometimes it even comes in from modeling people. But anyway, so in general, you look into the various funding programs, and you identify that the ones that you would probably, your proposal would fit best in. I find it very useful to go into what has been funded. I mean, under NSF webpage, you find recent awards made through this program with abstracts. And I read the abstracts carefully to see what is trendy, because NSF, like most people, I mean, they go to, like most funding agencies, they go to external reviewers, and sometimes if you have the most wonderful idea that's not trendy, it's difficult to get it funded. So they want to see your funding fitting into the whole program. So I look into basically what is going on in the past year or two as far as funding, and I also look into the level of funding. So I try to remain somewhere in the middle. I mean, NSF says that, well, you can ask for all the funding you want, and then we would negotiate it down. I don't have that feeling. I mean, I have a feeling if you ask for too much, it will probably get turned down. So I try to kind of limit myself somewhere in the middle. I don't usually contact the NSF program manager. I don't know if with other people, maybe they can speak about this, but unless I have a very specific question. And when I do contact, I usually have a written list of what I want to ask for, because those people are very busy and they don't want to be bothered. And so, for example, if I have some kind of collaboration with, let's say, Jefferson Lab, how to include someone who's funded through a federal agency or with NASA, which they don't allow, by the way. So you have to kind of, work out the systems there. How to set up some collaboration. Is it, for example, better to set up a subcontract versus go jointly as a collaborative proposal and things like this? I don't usually sit down and discuss any science with the program manager till maybe after I get the first review and I need to explain things. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? So basically, have a clear scientific and educational rationale for your co-PIs. So you can go alone, but if you look, I would say most of the proposals, you do find, I have been funded mainly alone, but when you go with co-PIs, you need to be very careful to find co-PIs that complement your expertise. For example, I'd be very interested myself with people who do modeling because I don't do it myself. In fact, the current NSF that I have is with someone from UVA who's a very good modeling person. And this was my third try. And when I added him as a co-PI, the proposal got funded. So that was helpful. Now, one of the reasons why you should be very careful with co-PIs is because NSF will not fund any proposal unless all reporting requirements, not only by your co-PI, but by his or by her co-PI. So if he has a current NSF grant or an expired grant that the co-PI from the other co-PI did not submit, then your proposal is not going to go through. So that's why you need to be careful with whom you work with, at least with NSF. Now, usually I build on my own previous experience, my publications. So I don't submit an NSF. Maybe this does not apply to the younger people, but I don't submit an NSF unless I have like many publications related that I can relate to. Otherwise, I mean, I feel that that it would be very difficult to come in. So I do variations on what I have been doing, but usually I have experience in that field. Now, for younger faculty, this might not apply, but I know in my case, it's very difficult to get funding unless I have already built a good record into that. Next slide, please. Okay. If there is a nice little basically website. NSF used to put it. I didn't find it on the NSF website, but if you look all the way down, you will find this career proposal. It applies to all proposals, not only to career. And the first thing that they say, the first sentence you put in the proposal is like the research objective of this proposal is, or the research aims are. You have to bring it up very quickly. Basically, I mean, when you have served on these panels, you have like something like 12 to 15 proposals. People don't really have the time to go through every single proposal very, very carefully. So you have to get the attention very quickly. NSF funds research, not development, improvement, or design. So you cannot start, the aim of this proposal is to design a new instrumentation or a new program or build a new program or anything like this. It's more into fundamental research. Now, at least this is in my case, it might be different. Like if you go for educational grants, which I have not done myself, it might be a different story here. You need to really differentiate your proposal from others. I mean, honestly, there are too many good ideas and very highly qualified people. I mean, if you look at the PhDs that we have been generated, I mean, some faculty here have generated 20-something PhDs, and most of them are very qualified people. So when you look into that, you have to come up with an idea, not only that's good science, but something that's timely, pressing issue. So that's why you have to review the technology that has been coming in the past year or two, what is being published and what NSF looks like they are making announcements for. So it has to be a pressing scientific issue. And then you can try to find in yourself or in your collaborators something that distinguishes your group from others. After you put the research objectives, you will have the methodology. And again, in my experience, it's better, if you are experimentalist, it's better to have some kind of modeling person along with you to strengthen the proposal. Of course, if you are a modeler, I have heard they have also had hard time when they don't have experimentalists with them. So that's why collaboration with different expertise is very important. Establish clear chronology. So basically the proposal needs to be easy to read and very clear. So you can use like charts, diagrams, how the flow of the work is going to be conducted. And then I have had proposals, for example, get down saying he did not discuss the risk obtained in these experiments and so forth. So discuss risk, data acquisition, data validation, but when you discuss it too much, sometimes I find in the reports, well, there's significant risk on this, and they kind of copied from what I wrote in the proposal. So I'm reaching a conclusion that if you discuss risk, you can discuss it, but do not emphasize it. And then definitely show a plan to manage that risk. Next one, please. Next slide.
The next one.
Okay. Make your proposal interesting to read. Don't cram too much information. I mean, you might, I mean, sometimes, you know, I submit a proposal that I have published 30 papers in before, like in that general area, but I'm applying it to a different field. Don't cram information, just put what is necessary. Again, the reviewers are very busy. If you make it difficult for them, it's not going to turn out well. Make very good graphics and assume the reviewer, okay, is very busy and so forth. Now, I just gave this as an example of a graphic I used in the proposal on the grant that I'm working on now. Usually, I try to make the figure caption long so that one of the 15 reviewers, for example, and in the panel, I assume that he or she might not have the time to read the full proposal. At least they can scan the figures and read the figure captions and get an idea. So I try to make it easy for the reviewers to just go through it. Hopefully I can make it very interesting so that they read the whole details. Okay, next. Follow instructions very carefully. I mean, usually they look, this is the easiest way to get a proposal to turn down if you're not following instructions. Propose what you are confident that you can deliver. And this is very, very important because, you know, if you are not able to deliver pretty much most of what you indicated, you might get that proposal accepted, but then it goes into the records. NSF, if you don't have 5, 6 journal publications from a 3-year grant, at least with the Division of Material Research, you would be in trouble. So you really don't want to overextend what you say in the proposal. Pay extra attention to results from prior and current NSF. You need to show the journal publication. In the broader impact, you can discuss several areas, but at least in my approach, I try to focus on one because I cannot be good in many areas. I can be in one. So, like, for example, you can discuss involvement of undergrad students in senior design, high school students, curricular development. I usually focus on involvement of undergrad students in senior design because usually I have like 2 groups working with me every semester, and I actually involve them in the work. So I focus on that one, and I give little attention to others, which I don't do as well as the involvement of the undergrads. In the budget, stay within what has been funded before. Limit release time. I know the department and the college likes you to put release time, and you would like to put summer salary. The problem that we have is that, like in material science, again, we're competing with chemistry, physics, different departments. In some areas in computer, you are competing with computer sciences, and you might be also competing with mathematics and other areas of engineering. And those colleges do not require their faculty to put release time. And reviewers are not 100% objective. When they see 1/3 of the budget going into something that another faculty from another college is not requesting that, then it becomes a disadvantage. So I try to basically limit my release time and summer salary to no more than 1 month per year. Limit equipment, because unless it's an equipment grant, but usually NSF assumes the university has enough resources. Maximize funding for GRA, include undergrads, because they like education. NSF really would like you to see you educate both graduates and undergrads. Don't ask for international travel unless you have a very strong justification for it. I usually don't ask at all. I remember 20-something years ago, I did ask and I got a comment about that. Include journal publication charges because they want to see the information basically get out. Okay, next slide. Being an experimentalist myself, and so I have to show like facilities, equipment, and other resources. And so I just chose this section to talk about a little bit. And one thing that, let's be honest, ODU is not looked at like UVA, like Stanford, like any of these universities. So you have to show, you have a burden on you to actually show that you have the resources and the facilities. So the way I usually have it, while I have the major equipment, I usually focus on equipment and I put a picture of it and I show a description that I am going to directly use for my research. This is my own lab. And then if you go to the next one, and then I put equipment that are supporting equipment. And here I put like the lasers and I put like picture. I actually put equipment that, for example, are general use. And if you work in the area of materials, I would actually encourage you to put equipment that, for example, in the Applied Research Center, and we have it on our webpage, or if you contact me, I can send you a list. Things like the transmission electron microscopy, scanning electron microscopy, atomic force microscopy, X-ray diffraction. Basically, you need to show that these equipment are available at ODU and are available for you and your students to do research and training with them. So I think I'll stop here. These are my slides.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great. I think we'll have a time for comments later on, and I think we'll just move on to next up would be Dr. Gosh Tipakar.
Muted, Dipankar.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my experience is limited compared to like Honey and some of the others so far, but I will share a couple of things. One thing I like when I first started at ODU, the very first semester actually I went for a panel review for the program from which I got the grant. And so at that point, obviously, I was just starting here, so I was not like, I think what is useful in the sense, like I got to see a lot of proposals, like good proposals, bad proposals, excellent proposals. That was something. Then how some proposals, even they seemed pretty good proposals, but like once it came to panel and the different reviewers started to discuss, and then you can start to see that how maybe it was not that fitting, or maybe there's too many things there. So one of the things Honey mentioned in the previous one, that not to put like too much information. So one of the common comment is about proposals many times like over ambitious proposals, which basically tells you you're trying to do too many things in one proposals and may not get so many things done because it's usually for 3 years and there is limited support. Maybe 1 or 2 PhD students will be only working there. The program I went, one thing I noticed there that I don't know about some of the other ones like outside CMMI or that one, but that particular program, which is now actually has a pretty big umbrella, advanced manufacturing, uh, there is a chance of success is high if it's a collaborative proposal. Like from my panel reviews couple of times, and then ad hoc, and then I also follow the proposals which have been funded through that program. So it mostly, I don't see too many single PI grants out there. It's mostly collaborative proposals, and obviously multi-university proposals, and that seems to be more successful for that program. It's not that with the collaborative proposal is going to get it with single PI, it's not that. But it seems to be the percentage of success is higher, like the number of grants which are funded is more on the ones which are collaborative proposals. So that was something useful. And in fact, the current grant that I also have with them is also a collaborative proposals with UVA, but it's purely experimental proposal. Both me and then my collaborator from UVA, both we are experimentalists. So typically, so usually I think it helps to basically have multi collaborators to expand the scope of the research, and then obviously complement each other. So that was something useful. And then obviously participating in the panel, then you can see, especially I think this is something probably useful for more the newer faculty just started, don't have much proposal writing experience, or the ones graduate students thinking about maybe academia. Like what are the things they expect? So obviously, I think Hani did a very good job, like putting a lot of very interesting points there, like start very early on, like what are the research objectives are there. And obviously NSF supports more fundamental. They don't really necessarily support design or development, those kind of things. So start very early on, like what exactly the research objective is there. What's the the emphasis is always on the knowledge, the new knowledge that will be generated, or the fundamental side of the proposal. So that should be something should come in the very first page. What are the objectives and the goal, and it's always always useful to actually come up with a figure or like a schematic which kind of describes the whole proposal, like the objectives are there very clearly. So because you have the reviewers are very busy, and often like when I've done panel, like I've got one time I got like 6 proposals, another time I got like 8 proposals, because one of the reviewers from the panel dropped out the last moment, and we had like 3 weeks time. So obviously reviewers are busy, they don't have time to go through all of them. So if you have your idea laid out very clearly in the very first page, maybe 1.5 pages, and with a diagram, a schematic, whatever is appropriate for your proposal, so that the reviewer has very early on the idea what exactly is there. And then if that excites, then I think the reviewer is going to take a look even more into what are the more details and capabilities, like what are the other things are offered. Couple of sometimes like at least I've seen like 2 or 3 proposals which seem pretty very exciting at the very beginning of the part 1 then, but then when I was going through the rest of the proposal, then it felt like it's like too much details, like as if like they're trying to do too many things in just in one proposal. And then I saw the similar, like the other members from the review committee also said the same thing. And those kind of proposals usually, although the idea is very good, but the execution, like maybe too many details, too many things trying to do, those actually get turned down very easily. So it's always good to have the idea very laid out very clearly, and then rest of the proposal also clearly, not have too much information in one proposal there. Okay, in terms of contacting the program director, I did actually find that useful. So whenever I've submitted, I contacted, and usually they respond. And they usually obviously ask you to send 1 or 2 pages of what you are trying to submit, give some idea. And when you call them, make sure that you have specific questions. That even though you send something, but the program director is going to ask you directly, okay, so what questions you have. So make sure that you have very specific questions, because again, they're very busy, so they may not give you much time. So like I had one time meeting just like 15 minutes, but it was still very useful, because as long as you have some specific questions. Then you also like, they're obviously not going to tell you what to do or something, but if somehow they feel maybe, at least they don't feel like the idea was very clearly laid out, they can give you some feedback on that one. Panel participation in the panel is I think it's pretty useful actually, because you can see the others what they are telling. Because sometimes you may think maybe this proposal is good, but then you get to hear from the other one also, or maybe sometimes you think maybe the proposal is not that good, but then same way you hear from the other ones there. And if you want to serve in the panel, the best is just to simply reach out to the program director, and they're very open. If you want to participate, they will usually feed you to a panel there. And lately I have been doing a lot of ad hoc review, because just to, that I think also helps to see what are the proposals there, what something has changed. Like one thing I found for this current program, that very first year when I went to the panel, and from now there has been a quite a bit change in the program, which because we have more other, sometimes they're always bringing new program directors there. So in terms of facilities, so I completely agree with Hani that you should very clearly say that what facilities you have, because sometimes being from audio, it is a little bit challenging to convince the reviewers that we have all the necessary facilities there. For the educational part, so obviously, like one thing is it's very important to have that involvement of the undergraduate students. NSF really likes that one. So I usually don't ask for funding for undergraduate support, because you can easily ask for later. Like once it is funded, you can ask later for RU supplement, which is actually very easy to get. You can always get one. Like whenever I ask, so I've got it, and you can even get for 2 students. One is like very much easy to get. If you want to get for 2 students, that also very useful. Usually they give you 8,000 per undergraduate student, which is pretty good to even support for whole summer and maybe partially for rest of the year. So I think I'll just stop here, and then once we get in the question and answer, I'll be happy to add this more if you any questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to Michael Wu.
All right. I have a few slides. They are not as nice as Hannah's slides, but many serve as kind of talking points. Let me just share that with you. So, first of all, I really want to thank NSF because besides the university, NSF is the largest sponsor for my research and also academic development. And the NSF money is really good money. There's not much, strings connected to those programs. It's different from some other programs that request you to give a report every week and do that kind of thing. You have a lot of freedom to conduct your research. My first NSF grant, NSF proposal as a PI is a NSF career proposal. That was, I think I submitted that in 2003. And I just, started my career, and I was extremely lucky to get it in the first shot. And I have to say that that's extremely, extremely helpful for my career. During the next 5 years, I don't need to worry about funding. I got, the funds to support, graduate students and me. My work doesn't need a whole lot of equipment, just computers. So that's really helpful. So with a lot of less pressure in terms of funding, and I got to do what I really enjoy to do in terms of research. Since then, I have continuously got funding from NSF. I don't remember a single year I don't have funding from NSF as a PI. So far I have a total of 14 NSF grants. And at the same time, I also go to NSF, serve on the panels. I think I checked today, I got, I think I did about 18 panels over the year. So pretty much, in average once a year. NSF funding is competitive, as we all know that it's not easy to get. In itself, the money is good. Okay, it's very nice money, but at the same time, it's not just about the money. To get an NSF grant, basically it's a testimony about the quality of your work. It means that your proposal, your research idea is appreciated by the colleagues in your research community, and that itself, I think, is a recognition. So we can always conduct research without funding, or with university support, which is a lot. But having an NSF funded project itself is kind of a recognition. So there are many NSF programs, right? Especially for junior faculty, sometimes it's hard to choose which program to go for. There are fundamental research programs. There are education programs, equipment grant, those kind of programs. Some programs are large scale. They're multi-million type of grants. Some of them are smaller, single PI kind of program. And if you look carefully, in most of those major areas, right, there is a core program that focuses on the fundamental, the basic research, and the core is pretty open. They don't change that often. And on the other hand, there are cross-disciplinary, those cutting-edge, that kind of programs. Sometimes it's jointly funded by multiple divisions, and so those kind of programs usually have a specific target about the topics that they want to fund. So it just depends on, I would say it depends on what you need to support your work. Of course, in terms of funding, in terms of money, the more the merrier. But at the end, at least I believe that it's, we as a researcher, right, we got evaluated by the type of work we do. It's not about the amount of money we spend. So, really just make sure that you understand, what kind of work you want to do, what kind of program you want to go for, and what kind of funding you really need to support your work. So I really, I talk to many people, and there are a lot of discussion about, how many proposals you should submit per year, and usually it's always encouraged to submit more proposals to get higher chance to get funded. I really appreciate that Hanny mentioned earlier that he only submit a couple of proposals per year. This is way I pretty much followed throughout the years. So during the first 12 years of my career, I mainly focused on the core programs. So so my area is computer networks, computer systems. So in NSF, there is a size, and this is a directory under size. It has CNS, and my program is NETS under the CNS. So I was pretty specific, that core program. Every year, I spend a lot of time to prepare, and the deadline is pretty much fixed, so when you should submit. So I prepare, for a few months, and get those materials ready, and at least I will start 6 weeks ahead of time to put those pieces together and start writing, polish it, and make sure that it's the highest quality I can achieve. It's not necessarily meaning that it's going to be funded, but I won't regret, that during for example, the day before the submission, I still have some piece that is not ready. I really hate that. Kind of make me really nervous. Pretty well. I never submit a whole lot of proposals every year. Sometimes just one to that program, because that is, the program is limited actually. You can only submit two maximally. So sometimes I submit one, sometimes I submit two, just to make sure that the quality is good. And recently I also submit some proposals to the, I think more towards education. I don't think it's education, but it's mainly used to support the students. The reason is that I direct the Center for Cybersecurity, and I need to grow the cybersecurity program. So those kind of funding is very useful to grow the program. And during the past few years, the program grows really healthily, from just a few students, 10 students, and now we have some 700 students. And those kind of funding helps students to engage students to, for example, to get them into undergraduate research, to sponsor them, or some of them are directed scholarship funding to support those students. So I found, they are really helpful to grow the program, but I think that's different from those research grants. So, it's a big question, right? How to write a winning proposal. I had some experience. I'm not sure it's always working. Whatever I suggested here is not necessary to be the truly the right way to write. But I just share what I have here. I think the first, I have a few, kind of key. I would say a few kind of key points that I always focus on, in order to write a good proposal. As I said, I don't write a whole lot, so it gave me plenty of time to polish those proposals. I think the first key point is really the quality of your research. There is nothing, I think this is the most important piece. So really make sure that you conduct the quality of research. How do you know that? I heard a few times today about the quality of publications. So you got to make sure that you publish in the most competitive venues. In my field, many times the conference publication is more important than the journal publications. They are, get better recognized. So you really want to make sure that when you do your research, target at the best venue in your field, right? To make sure that you have some papers published in that area. It's very competitive. Sometimes you may get one per year. Sometimes you get one every 2 years in those kind of top tier conferences. But you need to have some in your resume or as a preliminary work of your proposal, to make sure that it's competitive. I think those kind of publications by itself is a touchstone to basically to show that your work is truly competitive. You are doing that kind of level of work, right? You have done that kind of level of work, and what you proposed is at the similar level. So I think that's really important. And also, with those kind of publications, you will gain a lot of visibility in your research community, gain some sort of reputation. As you know that NSF run the panels, and those panelists are invited from the research community. So that's very important. People know your work. People, they do not necessarily to know you, but they know your work, and that will be really helpful to and a lot of points to your proposal. And at a minimum, when they read a proposal from this kind of PI, they will pay more attention to that. They will not just quickly reject it, because they understand that the PI, has such a reputation. The second, of course, is writing. I don't, have a whole lot of, details here to provide, and I think Penny and Deepak has discussed some of them. What I feel that the most important, thing for me, right? No, first of all, is you have this, excellent research idea is high quality, And then when it's up to writing, for me, I think the most important part is how to write a nice story, right? How to describe, now, I think the bottom line is clearly articulate your research idea, why it's novel, why it's important, why it's high impact. I think that's basic. You have to achieve that. If that part is not clear, then it's very hard to be funded. But beyond that, I feel it's also important to make sure that your proposal is written in a way that is really exciting. So the reviewers will be interested in reading it. You want to basically differentiate your proposal from other ideas. So when the reviewers look at this one, they will say, they only look at the introduction, they should say that, well, this is a really exciting idea, right? I have never thought about that, and having such idea may have a high impact on the research community or in the future, research work. So I think this is, kind of my experience. And the very last point, I put this thoughts there. It just speak. I don't think I should put on the slides, but actually, Hani and Deepak has mentioned that it's about talking to the program director. Now, I was not very active to reach out to the program director in the past when we prepare proposal. I always just work on my own, and as a good research idea, and I just write it and submit it in. Partly, I think it's because I was mainly targeted at those core programs, and the program description is pretty fixed, and it's pretty open. So there is essentially not really that much to discuss. But recently, I realized that it might be necessary. So for example, we submitted a proposal earlier this year. I'm collaborating with Virginia Tech and the GMU, and we are requesting $5 million to support cybersecurity. The proposal review came back and it's rated highly competitive. And in many programs that guarantees funding. And then I was informed by the program director that they cannot fund it for some reason that I cannot discuss here. So I just feel that if I had reach out to the program director before submitting the proposal, it might totally change the result. So I at least for that kind of program, I think I should do that. So those are just a few kind of key points I want to put up here. And again, different programs and the different fields and different your needs may require different skills to write a proposal. So just use them as a reference. I will stop here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. And now we have Sandeep Kumar. Sandeep.
Yep.
There we are.
Yeah, so can you see my slides? I just shared.
Yes.
So I didn't prepare a whole lot of things, but just 2 slides. So NSF program, whenever we are submitting a proposal, we need to know who is reading this proposal. So once you are in a panel, you have a good idea. If you are not in panel, still you will know through colleagues and all whoever in the panel. So your proposal is being read by 3 or 4 reviewers, and they are going to make a comment, good, fair, excellent, those kind of things. And it's very good chance that 1 out of 3 or 4 reviewers, 1 is maybe directly from area, and then other 3 are slightly on the fringe, not directly in the area. So it's a mixed group of people are reading. And we as a writer, we think what I'm trying to communicate is going to everyone. No, a bit of education is needed when we are writing, such that other reviewers are come on the same page by looking at that. So intellectual merit is really important, and all 4 reviewers are looking for intellectual merit in a different way. So before this, we work in certain area and there are many peers. We know that who is doing what and all. So we try to, so what would be my intellectual merit for my proposal? So two places we should look. One is what has been recently funded. If something has been funded and you are still working on that area, it does not discourage you, but you read through what details of that funding, and then you try to differentiate your proposal and go hard on why it's different or how would you build on that proposal. I'm not saying that you just pack up and change your research area. No, if you see something is funded, still you go there with more education why it's different and talk about that. So intellectual merit, you look at there, recently funded, and be educated on that. And second thing, program description. Try to connect when you go to the certain program, they definitely have written what are the area goals funded, and look at that. So that helps you in selecting a program, which program I should go. So these two things are intellectual merits, and broader impact the same way. We try to ignore it or you try to repeat it, but this is really important in NSF proposals. Roughly 2 or 3 pages can go in broader impact depending on what kind of proposal. Maybe 1 page or 2 pages is good enough. But it's difficult to write broader impact because we all tend to think in the same way. We will train high school, we train undergrad, volunteers, so very difficult to come new ideas. So if your intellectual merit is very strong, then broader impact with slightly low repetitive idea may go. But if intellectual merit is kind of in between, broader impact helps sometimes if you have some novel idea there or not. And that has been, I have seen that, I've been in many panels, so we have seen that if someone has to say, oh, broader impact is repetitive, what is new there, and I've seen proposal sending back for that. So definitely focus on that, both, not only one. Then I have some bullet points just for easy to explain you. Again, there are 3 or 4 reviewers and they have to read at least 6 to 8 proposals in that panel review cycle. So it's really important to figure or picture putting on the first page. What is your entire idea? I have been benefited by this, so I'm trying to share you. Try to draw a picture or figure or a block diagram in the very first page. That way it says what is being proposed, what is the bigger picture, what are the different components coming. We tend to write a lot and then we second page or third page we are proposing this is what we are proposing. No, the reviewer who is reading that, they are anxious to know what is this proposal. So I suggest really having figure or pictures in terms of what is being proposed or bullet points in right on the first page if possible, not later than second page. Look at recently funded projects which I already talked. Collaborative is the good idea. Single PI is very rare nowadays. Means people may get funded single PI, but that's a very less in number nowadays. So collaboration is really important, collaborative proposals. Many a time we may not be funded first time. So review comes back and we have to decide, should I go back or should I change to new proposal or different proposal? So read reviews very clearly many a time, and then you will find a clue. They decide to go back or leave it now, change this proposal is not going to be improved. And in panel, I have seen if they want you to come back, the reviews are written like that. You will find some hint or preliminary data is missing or something like that. So that says that you come back. Directly they cannot say, but there is some hint there or there is some clue there. If really no clue there, you don't find it and you see it's a lot of weaknesses they have pointed out, it's better to leave and move to next one. Broader impact details should be there. Broader impact, how will you do that? Just telling that I will train these many students or I'll have underrepresented group is not enough. How will you hire them? So a little bit detail is needed in broader impact. So we tend to neglect that or tend to repeat that, but spend some time on broader details also, broader impacts. Educational components, you try to include that in broader impact. What are the educational component? How you are going to integrate your research with the educational components. If we are resubmitting, I do all the time. If I'm resubmitting, I write a first paragraph as a preface on the first page. This is a resubmission of proposal, and then I say in a very brief way what is improved here. What was the reviewer comments and what is improved here. So I try to bring them to know that it was submitted previously and what, so they start looking that. Make easy for reviewer or educate the state of art. Again, I said that they are from different field and they are reviewing our proposal. One or two are same field, but others may be different field. So discuss the state of art and try to educate that. Means what you are proposing, where what's the baseline to compare what you are proposing. Preliminary data is important. Sometimes we think that if I publish, then it will be disclosed, and then how to go for proposal. No, if you publish, it gives you a strength of your proposal. Waiting for a proposal to include preliminary data without publication is not good. So publish it and include preliminary data. That is really important. Cite your competitor. Cite means talk about them, where this technology stands. Talk about them, who some of your competitor, and try to educate that how it is building on those technology or how it is different that. The last one is NSF. I have seen the preference is given to graduate students and undergraduates whom you are training. So it's a good idea to have one GRA and one or two undergrad in the proposal. And later on, again, you get what Dipankar said, it's easy to get supplement. So you can get one or two more through supplement. But I suggest including undergrad in the proposal also. You are paying them, not just leaving for the supplement. Because some reviewer may say that no undergrad education going on. So they don't know you will be coming back. Postdoc general consensus is more towards GRA and UG students, because it's NSF, they prefer more on training and other things. So postdoc in a small proposal, if it is really necessary, then you propose postdoc. If it is a big proposal, then postdoc is fine. But if you are going for 300 or 400 or 500,000, putting money in postdoc may not be a good idea for biopsy. So these are the few major points I say, and we learn from experience. We should go back. I'll tell you one story about my RET proposal recently, research experience for teachers. So these are different than the normal research proposals. So in RET proposal, we are funded this year, and that was our 6th submission. 6th time, we kept going back. Tony knows it, we kept going back. And it's not that we are getting bad reviews. The last 4 times we got recommended if possible. All the time we'll get funding, but how Michael has said that, even if you get a high grade, it may not be funded because of budget constraint or something like that. So all 4 times we are talking to program director, and she will say you are getting good reviews, but budget not available. But we keep doing that and finally got funded this year. So be persistent. If you see that your idea is good, you are getting reviews, try to go back. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Oh, very good. All right, Tony, I think what we should do, if there's time, is just to open it up for questions, and we'll have panel members respond. Does that work for you, Tony?
I agree.
All right, so can you actually manage that? Because I'm not sure how to do it.
Sure. If you have a question, why don't you do it in the chat box and we can read it out, and that way we don't have everybody trying to chime in at once. Does that make sense?
I
So
think so.
I've got the chat box open. So anybody can put in. Okay, first question. Michelle Odette would like to know how long detailed to make the literature review.
Well, maybe I'll make a comment on that. You want to, I think it's important to focus down, get focused down pretty quickly to what your particular area is. You don't want to make a review article. It's not good to spread it out. Just keep it focused. You don't have to cover everything, and besides that, you're not really there to educate the reviewers. You're there to tell them what it is that you're going to do. You want to use the literature review to bring out why is this important? What gap is it filling? How does it go beyond what's been done? So it's not. So keep it brief, keep it concise, I would say.
Just one quick housekeeping note that I failed to mention. Dr. Landau was also an NSF program officer for a number of years, so he does kind of know of which he speaks. He was in the physics program, I believe, and so we're very lucky to have someone with that experience in our grant writing team. We have one from Martin Enrique Liza, one of our graduate students. He would like to know, is there any specific tips for him as a PhD student interested only in computational and theoretical work? And I'm going to let the panel answer that, and I'm going to refrain from it for a minute.
All right. Anybody like to chime in on that? Okay, well, let me,
Well, actually, can you clarify the question a little bit?
Yeah, Martin, why don't you come online and clarify it for Dr. Wu?
Sure. Hi, how are you guys? So I already know I want to do only theoretical and computational work. I have no interest in experimental work, and most of the tips that you guys have provided are from experimental people. So I already have a clearance. I'm familiar with the Air Force. I work with the Air Force right now, but I'm interested mainly like maybe down the road fill up an application, an NSF application, but mainly focuses as like computational theoretical work. So what tips can you provide to fill up a specific like computational theoretical application on regards, because it's different than tips to fill up a experimental application. As you were saying, I think you were discussing before something about like providing pictures and equipment. I mean, sure, I can talk about the computational nodes and the computer power that I have, but what else, I guess, besides that?
Right. I think my background is more computer systems, and I do not claim that myself as an experimentalist. We do implementation. We conduct experiments, but it's mainly just computation, right? It's on the computers. So I think for that kind of work, I would say the merit mainly comes from the theories, the algorithms you design, right? Why it is innovative, why it's different from the others, why it's better than others, better than existing solutions. Why it has a high impact, especially if you're talking about theoretical work. So most theoretical work are pretty abstract, but you have to show that if we can achieve this theoretical results, it's going to have a very broad impact on a number of application fields, right? It's going to benefit broadly many researchers. So I think that could be a key to just emphasize that, to highlight that part, and of course, you have to deliver what you promised. We cannot just claim that this has a impact that will change the whole world, but when the reviewer read your proposed idea, it doesn't meet the expectation, then that's not going to work. I hope that's helpful.
That helps definitely. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add a comment to that for the younger people who are early in the career, and that's about the broader impacts. You should be thinking, especially for a theoretician, because that's a hard hurdle sometimes. And the advice is get thinking about that early. You can how you're going to be engaged and what could be the broader impact. Don't leave it till you're getting to the proposal stage, because you can start doing that now. And then when you put in your biography, you can say, I've done this, and that gives you credibility. So you want to think carefully about how you're going to be making a broader impact with the proposal. And as Sandeep said, it is always taken. It's always important, even yeah.
So if I can just add to that, thanks. I think both Michael and Stephen. So one way to do that is actually if you could think of an application. So it's perfectly fine you're working on theory or modeling, but then if you can have an application, that then helps you to expand to a broader impact.
Got it. Thank you.
Tony, your speaker is not on.
Unmute. My advice is don't limit yourself because as my learned colleagues will tell you, you may not always be able to get the computational or theoretical work or work exactly that fits perfect, but take the work you can get as a researcher.
Thank you.
We have a question from Murat Kuslo. He would like to know you all's thoughts about resubmitting a rejected proposal, especially NSF.
Let me just first of all say what the policy is on that. And the policy at NSF is you can resubmit, you get it. It is treated as a new proposal. It's not necessary to respond to the question, to the criticism, but it's a good idea, because the policy is it has to be substantially modified with respect to what the reviewers have said. So you don't want if you just resubmit it, or if you don't really make it significantly different, it's going to be rejected without review. That's the policy.
So I'll tell my story one time. Basically, when we read the reviews, we know that whether it's fixable or we should decide not to submit again, because review always written like that. If you bury a strong comment and there's no plan, there's no way you can address that, you know it, better not to go. And so in my first year, I submitted 2 proposals at a time. And one got good reviews, but not funded. Another got some very discouraging reviews, very strong reviews, and it was not fixable. So I left that one. But the second one I resubmitted, and that became career award after that. So a review, I'll say, whether submit or not, it's your decision, and you have to read the reviews. And what Stephen said, that is really has to be substantially changed, major barriers has to be addressed there. So I'll suggest just a short paragraph to bring them, not to address all the reviews and all, but a good point of what was noted by the previous panel with your proposal number, and then you go ahead with resubmission. But if proposal is not fixable or is going to be making incremental changes, there's no point in resubmitting. Even if it's review, you will get the same result. So it's time to move on if reviews are very strong. And
so let me also, thank you both. Let me also add just a little bit on that. Sometimes it's difficult. The reviews are sort of in between. And that's the time that you should talk to the program manager if you're not sure. That will help. And in fact, some programs, even if you make substantial changes, they're limited to 2 times submission of the same idea or similar idea.
Within a few minutes.
Right. So you should not go for more than 2 if it's really not going to help you. However, again, program manager will be the person to talk to and get the feedback.
I mean, I'd like to add a comment. Just reminds me of actually this person in your department I worked with early on. He got a proposal back, which was bad. He was very mad. He didn't, and he took his own advice. He said, I have to cool down before I go back there. My comment is just be very professional about how you take these reviews and think them over and yes, discuss it with the program officer is a great idea.
Okay, Jing Wei has a question. If a topic falls both in a dedicated program, for example, SATC, and a core program, what are the main considerations with which one to go with?
Yeah, I think I can take this one because it's very specific to the SATC. I did have a conversation with the program director about this topic, and what I was advised is that you need to look at the main topic, your main idea. If it's mainly focused on cybersecurity, then go with SATC. So even you submit to the core program, they will move it to the SATC. However, if you are addressing, for example, a computer system, Jinwei, for your case, let's say a high performance computing system, it discusses a number of topics. For example, something about performance, but it also has a component about
real lunch. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.